is the third member of the solar team, and he and I in particular, I'm always going to offer open source to the town side. He and I in particular are all ask questions every time we have them. See us the literature, have us an email to us, and we promise you the sense that we know what people like to really do. Let me just say a quick word about the town's role in this. The town of Brookline really has always tried to be a leader in environmental things, but where it's really been particularly successful in the last 10 years, both the Board of Selectmen, the Climate Action Committee, and the Planning Department have all been particularly active on energy issues. The towns work closely with community groups, with Climate Action Brookline, with the Brookline Green Space Alliance, on at least a dozen different initiatives, everything from buying hybrid cars to getting police on bicycles instead of being in their cars, to a home energy efficiency program called Green Homes Brookline. So we really see this solar as the next step for the town and people in the community to take. The town itself, actually, pretty much as we speak, is negotiating to put solar on a number of buildings. There are already solar panels on the building, public health building, and on the library. The town right now is working on a different program to put solar on buildings. So it seems to us it's only logical that the town would get involved in this program, which is to try to get more individual people, residents in town, and businesses involved. So that's sort of the background. And with that, let me introduce Elizabeth Youngblood, who is here from the Mass Clean Energy Center. She's the state office that really set up this entire program, gave us this opportunity. As I said, she's much more of an expert than I am. She's a real energy expert, although she majored in biology and international relations in Mount Holyoke and worked in research in pharmaceuticals for a while before she came to the green side of things. But when she did move over, she worked in operations in the largest New England solar, basically solar installer. And now, the last couple of years, she's been managing solar programs at the Mass Clean Energy Center. So let me turn it over to her, and she will tell you more about the solar energy program.
Thank you, Warner. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Cascade, for having me here tonight. Very excited to be here. My name is Elizabeth Youngblood, and I am a project manager at the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center. I'm very excited to be here tonight. We're very excited to partner with Brookline to do this program over the summer. Before I get started, I really wanted to ask who here was at the Solar 101 event about a month ago? Okay, I see 2 hands. That's great. Oh, and of course, excellent. 3 hands. So my goal tonight is, since I'm not the main attraction, is to really do a basic recap of the Solar 101 event, to give an overview of the Solarize Massachusetts program, and then give a few pointers on getting started, and then hand it over to the selected installer, Solar Flare. First, I just wanted to talk a little bit about who is the Mass Clean Energy Center, where are we coming from? We are a semi-public agency that is tasked with driving the renewable energy sector in Massachusetts. We do this in several different ways. We have a small investments division. We have a workforce development division. One of the things that they do is they have an internship program for college students where they partner college students with renewable energy companies and clean technology companies, and then give a small stipend to them. So if you know college students who are interested, have them check out our website. We also have a clean sector energy development division, and then we have my division, which is called the Renewable Energy Generation Division. And we're really focused on incentivizing and driving commercially available technologies. So solar electricity, solar hot water, wind, biomass, thermal. We just started a pellet stove program, and even, this will be our 3rd year for the Solarize Massachusetts program. So we have partnered with a total of 31 communities across Massachusetts, and as I said, we're really, really excited to partner with Brookline this summer. Solar electricity, also known as solar PV or solar photovoltaics, comes in many forms. Here you've got solar PV on a barn, and here you've got 3 pole-mounted systems. And I think this is actually a picture from a residential system in Medford that I drive by very often. So a few pictures of solar. We also have some nice solar panels here smattered around the area, so you can kind of feel and touch them if you like. One thing I wanted to talk about is energy consumption in the world. So if you look at the little orange sphere there, that is the world's consumption of energy, and it's 16 terawatt years of energy per year. Then over on the right, what you see are the total amount of non-renewable resources in the world. So this is looking at coal, uranium, petroleum, we've got ANWR there, and then natural gas. This is all that we have. Then we've got renewable energy sources. This is annual. So this is looking at wind, waves, ocean thermal energy conversion, hydro, geothermal, and tides. And you've got the sun. 23,000 terawatt years of energy hits the world every single year. And it's constantly battering down on us. It's a wonderful resource, and it's up to us to really take advantage of it and use it for our own purposes. So a question that I get very often is, well, what about Massachusetts? We have a different solar resource than other parts of the United States. And to a certain extent, that's definitely true. We're not the Southwest that is burning red in this picture, but we're actually right in the middle of solar radiance, or our solar resource. We're kind of in a green zone, which is perfectly fine. Something to be aware of, however, is if you look at Germany in the lower right-hand corner, their solar resource is less than the darkest parts of our country, including Alaska. And yet they're one of the countries that install the most solar in the world. So we like to say if they can do it, we can do it as well. Something else to be aware of, in Massachusetts, we have very high electricity prices. We're actually the 10th highest in the country, and that's very similar to other New England states as well. We don't have a lot of coal-fired power plants or other energy generators that are in our state. We're kind of at the end of the pipeline for natural gas, and so we generally have very high prices. The graph to the lower right is showing you how prices have increased over the past 20 years. What you generally see here is that there is an upward trend of about 3% we've been seeing. There was a dip in the past several years due to natural gas fracking. We think that even though it's leveled out, the prices over time will continue to rise as the transmission lines continue to age and need to be replaced and upgraded. So we think that the energy prices will continue to rise in Massachusetts. This is a graph showing the prices for, or I should say, residential project trends for solar electric systems in Massachusetts. That's something that we track through our Commonwealth Solar 2 rebate program, and we have other means of kind of figuring out what the average price for going solar is in the state. So I would actually ignore the first 2 years because there are almost no systems installed, but what you're seeing here is that back in 2005, 2006, you were looking at $9 per watt. I'll explain what that is. But even when I started getting involved in solar back in 2009, the prices were around $7.5. And right now in the state they're around $5 per watt, which definitely is a drop in price. Part of this is due to panel prices dropping and a couple of other reasons. And we really do hope that the prices will continue to climb, perhaps not at the same rate, but maybe over time they will. Basic economic model here, as prices drop, the adoption rates have gone up. So you see in 2011, 2012, we've been seeing a lot more projects, residential scale and commercial coming through. This is generally a positive thing. However, we are a rebate agency, and so generally that means we get more rebate applications, which means that I'm spending more time looking at lots of applications, which is great. Keep them coming. It's fine. We love them. So another way to look at this, the yellow dots are actually solar installations in the state in 2006. And this is the same state, Massachusetts, in 2013. So we've definitely been seeing adoption rates going up in the state. So what about the economics of going solar? As I've said, we have high electricity prices. We've seen a reduction in the cost of going solar, and there are a number of incentives available in the state, and we really think that that leads to economical solar projects. So as a brief recap of what is available out there, there are several tax incentives. There is a federal tax incentive, which is worth 30% of the total cost of the system. There's also a state tax credit, which is worth up to $1,000. We offer a rebate, which is based on a cost or a value per watt. So we incentivize up to the first 5,000 watts of the system. That's the average in the state, is about a 5,000 watt or 5 kilowatt size system. We offer 40 cents per watt, so that would be, if you got a 5,000 watt system, about a $2,000 rebate. We have a couple of other incentives that may raise that amount to $4,000. It's very kind of site specific. They're called the moderate income and the moderate home value adder. So if the value of your home is kind of at or below a certain value, then you might be eligible for the moderate home value adder. If your income level is at a certain level as well, or below, you'd be eligible for the moderate income adder. I don't know why I took the slide out, I don't have it in front of me, but it's 120% of what the average is in the state. So I think for, I don't have these numbers memorized, but it's about $75,000 for an individual annually, and about $95,000 for a domestic home. I might be off by about 50 or 1,000, maybe. Ask me afterwards. I have an iPhone. There is also what's called net metering, and what this is your solar system is going to be producing electricity, and it's generally consumed in your home. However, there are situations where, let's say you're away for the day, but it's a beautiful sunny day and your system is producing a lot of electricity. Where is that extra electricity going to go if you're not consuming it in your home? And that's where net metering comes into play. So what happens to that extra electricity is it comes down from the panels, it actually goes into an inverter, because the panels actually produce electricity in direct current. So it goes into that inverter, it's converted into alternating current electricity, and then it either goes into your electrical panel to be consumed, or it goes through your net meter onto the grid. And the utility will credit you for the excess generation to be used at a later time. This could be later that evening, or it could be in later months of the year when it's darker out and there's not as much solar access, but you're still consuming the same amount of electricity. Generally speaking, the utilities will look at your consumption, and then they'll look at the production of the solar system, and they will true up after the end of the month. So if you've produced more electricity than you've consumed, they'll give you credits. If you've consumed more than you have produced, they'll charge you for that extra amount. So that's what net metering is. There's also an incentive called SRECs. That is short for Solar Renewable Energy Certificates. And I'd say of this incentive stack, it is a little bit complicated, so let's bear with me here. But essentially, in the state, there is the utilities are required to purchase a certain amount of their electricity from renewable energy sources. They can either build the solar themselves, or they can purchase what are called solar renewable energy certificates. And they can do this, what an SREC is what's considered the green attribute of solar. So it's really what differentiates the electricity you're producing from a solar system compared to brown electricity or brown electrons from coal or natural gas or oil. So essentially, in Massachusetts, there is a market for you to generate SRECs from your system, and this is completely independent from the actual electricity. This is the green attribute that you are then selling to the utilities. And as I said, it is a market, so there's a range for the value of what an SREC is worth. There is what's called an auction mechanism, which is based at $285 per SREC, and you're eligible to sell for 10 years. So generally what I say is that the average 5,000 watt, 5 kilowatt system produces about 6 SRECs, or one SREC is equal to 1,000 kilowatt hours, or 1 megawatt hour of electricity. So usually a 5,000 watt, 5 kilowatt system generates about 6 SRECs, would generate about 6 SRECs per year. So you'd be eligible to sell those for 10 years. So it's an important revenue stream. I also put down here, this isn't really an incentive per se, but there are what's called low or no money down options. This is a scenario where a third party would own your system and maintain it, and would either sell you the electricity at a reduced level, which is called a power purchase agreement, or might lease you the equipment so that you get that electricity. So that is something we've been seeing in the market. Early on, it might have been that very few systems were leased or power purchase agreement, and most were direct purchase. Now it's really a mix. People really decide whether they want to go direct purchase or lease PPA, depending on what their needs and interests are. So jumping back to SRECs, just a few weeks ago actually, so the SREC program was originally created to incentivize up to the first 400 megawatts of capacity in the state. We were expecting the program to last a little bit longer. Back in 2007, there were only 3.5 megawatts of capacity in the state, and we basically ran into that 400 megawatts recently. The Department of Energy Resources, which is responsible for the SREC program, they're actually in the process of enacting emergency regulations to extend the participation of the program for small-scale residential and small-scale commercial projects. And what they're really looking to do is keep that program running until they have the next SREC program operational. So they're really developing that program right now. So that's what's going on. I also wanted to say that there's support from the state to continue supporting solar PV projects. Even 2 months ago, Develop Patrick made a new statement saying that they want to get to 1.6 gigawatts or 1,600 megawatts of solar by 2020. So that's kind of the new goal that's out there. So the Mass Clean Energy Center, Department of Energy Resources will really be working with the volunteers over the summer to get the word out there as to what the most up-to-date information is about the SREC program. So Solarize Massachusetts, hopefully you've been hearing about it everywhere in the city, and if not, please help spread the word about the program. This is a fairly generalized way of looking at what the program is. You've been seeing that, we've been seeing that solar prices have been decreasing. However, there is still, a fairly high upfront cost. The process of going solar can be fairly daunting and confusing, and so we were interested in this model to find a way to really simplify the process and reduce costs for homeowners. I've actually heard it being called kind of a Groupon for solar, which, it is kind of a group buying model, which if you call it Groupon, that's great. I would call it Groupon. It's Solarize Max. Anyway, so the way that the program works is that really this program is driven in large part by the volunteers in the community. They do a lot of outreach and education. They invite us to events like this where we get to talk to people about solar and really get the word out about the program. This really reduces costs for installers. One of their large costs is actually the marketing and outreach and customer acquisition costs, and so they're really able to kind of reduce that price for installers to be able to sell. So installers, as a result, there were a number of competitive bids that were put in to be considered the Solarize installer for Brookline. So they offered very competitive pricing as part of their proposal, which I'll get into in a few minutes. The process for going solar through this program is fairly simplified. It is a short-term program that goes through September 30th. All these different mechanisms really help lower the prices for going solar and increase the adoption levels. I'm going to do a slide after this. I'll look at this in a minute. Yes. All right, so as I said, we've been doing this program this will be our third year. This is looking at the Solarize Max Program last year. In 2012, we actually partnered with 17 different communities. And what you see here, the blue lines are the total number of residential scale, small scale systems that were in these communities, prior to the program over the past 10 years. So 10 years worth of installation. And the green bars are showing you what was contracted during the Solarize Max program last year. So in many communities, except for Boston, the solar PV adoption doubled within the course of a 4-month period. And we found last year that the average savings for residences in these communities was about 20% below what the average in the state was during the time of that program. So we're really excited about that. All right, now going back. So who are the partners who are part of this program? you've got the Massachusetts Clean Energy Center and the Department of Energy Resources. We put out what's called an RFP, request for proposals, asking for communities to participate in the Solarize Max Program. We also did the same for installers to get bids in to be the selected installer. We also engage 3 different technical consultants to be part of the installer selection process. They were really looking at the equipment, the value proposition that was being offered, the business terms and the contracts, and they were really kind of our technical eyes on the ground during that process. We also have offered some marketing and education. I'm here, educator. Some marketing. We've got a small marketing grant to the town of $2,500, and the t-shirts, they're really cool. I'm really glad we ordered them again this year. They're great. And then also offering system rebates. So, as I said, we offer a rebate, the Solarize Max rebate. It's actually equivalent to our other rebate program called Commonwealth Solar 2. The incentives are very much the same for Solarize Max as if you were to go with a different installer. The benefit really comes in through reduced tiered pricing of the program, which I'll get into in a minute. The community, as I said, is critically important to this program. They're really the drivers. They were very important in the installer selection. They actually made the ultimate decision of which installer to choose. There are 2 solar coaches that are part of the Solarize Brookline team, and they are working with a group of dedicated volunteers to get the word out about this program over the summer. Because the more people who go solar as part of this program, then the price is reduced for everybody. And they're doing a lot of outreach. The installer is considered the technical expert. They're offering free site assessments. They're offering reduced tiered pricing and different ownership options, both the direct purchase and power purchase agreement. They will contract with residents. They will fill out the rebate application through our rebate program, and they will install the system. Some basics about the 2013 Solarize Max Program. There are 10 communities in this rounded program. We decided this year to break it up into 2 different rounds, so one in the spring, one in the fall. So we're doing this program with 10 communities right now. We've just, as of about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, completed the competitive installer selection process. And this is where I want to speak a little bit about what is tiered pricing. It's based on contracted capacity. So for every contract signed, that adds to the total amount of capacity for the program. So the goal is to get to 200 kilowatts of contracted capacity. So if you consider the 5,000 watt or 5 kilowatt average size systems, that would be about 40 projects. And I know the town is actually, I think the goal is it 200 that you guys are aiming for? That's the goal? That's excellent. So the way that this works, looking at this, so tier 1 is, you're starting off 1 to 25 kilowatts of contracted capacity. And that is a certain cost per watt, which is already reduced from the average in the state. Tier 2 is 25 to 50 kilowatts of contracted capacity. Tier 3 is 50 to 100 kilowatts. Tier 4 is 100 to 200, and Tier 5 is 200 plus. We set it up this way because we really wanted neighbors to talk to neighbors and really get the word out about the program. Because if you're going solar and you're at, let's say you're at Tier 2 and it's a good deal for you, good value proposition, you decide to go forward, you will realize additional savings if the town gets to the ultimate goal of 200 kilowatts. The program is limited time. It's running through September 30th, 2013, so you need to contract by that point. Brookline received a total of 4 installer proposals, and the review team looked at a diverse range of criteria. They were looking at the price that the installers were offering the reduction, but they were also looking at the history of the installer's customer service, the experience of the installer team, their ability to serve the community, the quality of their equipment. As I was saying, the technical consultant was really looking at that, and then also offering both a direct purchase and a PPA option. At the start of this program, we looked at the numbers across the state, and we saw that the average cost per watt is about $4.85. For Tier 1, Solar Flare is offering a 24% savings, and then Tier 5 is a 35% savings off of what the average cost in the state is. And I put a little asterisk there because There are specific situations in which what's called a cost adder might apply. This might be situations where you want to upgrade to a higher capacity panel or use microinverters, or there might be a scenario where if you're doing a ground-mounted system or your electrical panel needs to be upgraded, we ask the installers to bid specific adder pricing for scenarios where there might be an additional cost. So that's something that we have on hand to kind of check when a rebate application comes through our program, saying, okay, this individual is going with microinverters, which will be explained momentarily. But I just want to point out that, you know, there's an asterisk there. As I said, last year we saw on average about 20% savings all in, including any sort of adders. Another fast fact, we did look at adders from last year, and about 40% of them were optional upgrades. So people who want to do, again, the high quality, dark, specific, beautiful looking panels. Whatever you guys want to do, whatever fits for you guys is the way to go. So they'll also be offering a power purchase agreement as well. So this is the kind of the blue line, starting line for the 10 communities this round. So Brookline has just under 40 kind of installed projects as of the end of April. And the red dots are just looking at the percentage of the total population. So I think actually for Brookline it's 0.08% of the population has a solar system. So that's okay, but through this program hopefully that adoption rate will continue to increase and be double or potentially even more. Brookline has more than 125 people who have expressed interest. SolarFlare is in the process of doing site assessments and seeing if people have good feasibility, good homes with a good solar access and a good site for solar. So they're in that process right now. If you signed up at the start of the program, SolarFlare will give you a call to set up a site assessment or ask you more questions about your site and discuss feasibility. So the next steps. Sign up for email updates and sign up for a free solar site assessment. We also recommend that, no matter what, people really consider signing up for a free energy assessment through MassSave or any sort of local. I think we just. Are you guys partnering with anyone else for energy efficiency for the most part? Green Homes Brookline, that's what I thought. I must check you beforehand. So you can sign up for a free energy audit through Green Homes Brookline. Call MassSave. Something that we like to say, energy efficiency really is the low-hanging fruit when it comes to savings. If you can cut your electricity bill by, let's say, 20%, that's so much less of a solar system that you have to purchase. As I said, it's free to get the assessment. If you do end up getting a solar system, part of our requirements for getting our rebate is that you have had conducted an energy assessment. So you might as well sign up for one now and get it out of the way anyway. There will be some sites that are not going to be feasible for solar. Consider some other options. Again, energy efficiency is a great way to go. We also have a solar hot water program. If you have a lot of shading on site or you're very space constrained, sometimes in those situations solar hot water might be the right option for you. Also, this is very much a community-based program, so please tell your friends and neighbors. Take a lawn sign, get those out the door so that the word's getting out there. If you want to volunteer, I'm sure that the team's looking for volunteers as well. And I think with that, I will put my contact information up there, and I will hand it over to Dan, hand over to Werner. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I just wanted to say a couple words. First of all, it really was a very interesting process to choose this one. We had really strong bids, but the solar flare of the very well thought through scoring process that the Energy Center led us through really stood head and shoulders above what we were looking at. So we're very, very excited to be working with solar flare. And tonight we have Dan Greenwood here to talk more about exactly what they do. He's vice president of Solar Flare, but maybe what's more to the point is he's an electrical engineer with a wide variety of managerial and executive experience. He's also a LEED certified professional, for those of you familiar with the LEED process. He's worked for 20 years in the electrical distribution industry. On the one hand, he's worked with things like metering technologies, but also with things like implementation of contract management software systems and management concepts like cross-functional team leadership to learn how to put all these things together to make a really functioning system that gets the solar up on the roof. He has a BS in electrical engineering from Worcester Polytechnic Institute and an MBA from BU. So you can understand why he's doing this kind of creative work, and we're so happy to be working with him. So let me turn it over to Dan, and he'll tell you some more.
Thanks, Warren, and thanks, Elizabeth. Give me a couple of minutes here to bring up my presentation, which is different than Elizabeth's. Okay, that's why we're here. We at Solaflare, we're going to set up Dan Greenwood from Solaflare. I'm the Vice President of Business Development. Before I get into the presentation, I'll just talk a little bit about our experience with this program. And we were fortunate enough last year to be selected for 3 communities also. There was Solarize Arlington, Hopkinton, and Mendon. And it was a tremendous experience for us. We worked very hard. We learned a lot. We were very successful in the program. Arlington was a highlight, I would say, last year of the Solarize program, and it went really well. We achieved the goals that we set out, which was solar adoption as wide as we possibly could get it in all the towns that we worked in. In particular, Arlington was very, very receptive to the Solarize concept, and I think Brookline is going to be similar, and I think even better. So just a little preview of what I'm going to be talking about. We're going to talk about the pricing, our base pricing, and go through the adders, as Elizabeth had talked about. Encourage everybody here to sign up for a site visit if you haven't already, and also encourage you to talk to your friends, your neighbors, because it's definitely a group buying model that the more interest you can get around the town, the buzz and the interest that happens during the program. It was amazing last year how many people just got on board once we educated them, and they saw that this was a great opportunity for them to adopt solar. It worked great. So we want you to be an advocate, and the more people who participate, the better the price is going to be for everybody. Talk about Solaflare and let you know a little bit more about us. We will talk about the process that we go through to check out your house and see if it's a good fit for solar or not, and then the steps that you'll have to take, which won't be very hard to do to keep the process going. And then this is, I think, what a lot of people come for, is do some questions and answers afterwards, because people have some specific questions that may be more detailed for their own home, and I'm happy, and we have quite a few employees here tonight, happy to answer questions for a while, for as long as people want to hang out. So about Solaflare, this is our mission statement that's right on our website. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just give you the idea that all people that work at Solaflare are really invested in the concept of solar adoption, and whether it be commercial or residential, it really doesn't matter to us. We just we try to do as much solar as we can. It's very important to us because of the environmental aspects, and it's also been a great way to grow the economy. I was the 4th employee at Solaflare in 2010, and we now have 42 employees, and it's been an exciting ride the whole way. It's been a great success story. We are just a Massachusetts company, began in Hopkinton in 2007, moved to Framingham in 2009, and we've just expanded each year. We at least double in size, and it's been a great ride in and Solarize definitely helped us in that. Some of the interesting statistics, we're fully licensed. We have 3 NABCEP certified installers on the staff, which is important. A lot of people haven't heard of NABCEP. It's the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners, and it's the main certification process for solar professionals, and a lot of companies have one. Any solar installer should have at least one NABCEP certified installer on their staff, and we have 3, and they're mostly in our engineering department, but also in sales. We have a home improvement contractor's license. We have actually 9 licensed electricians on the staff, and they tend to be the foreman of our projects. Our master electrician's license is up there for anybody to see on our vehicles and business cards. Every single one of our employees, whether they're out in the field, on the roof of a house, on the roof of a commercial building, or in the office, everybody goes through OSHA training. We take safety very seriously. We have 1 lead accredited professional, which is more listed as myself, and we have a construction supervisor's license, which is a requirement to get permits that are needed. This is some of the players on the team, some of the players that will be directly involved in the Solarize Brookline operation. So Matt Arner oversees everything. He's the owner and the president. He's been involved in solar forever, from the dawn of solar. I am the Vice President of Business Development. We have a trig engine that is going to be the residential sales associate, one of them that's going to be working here in Brookline. In addition to that, we have Garrett Sprague, Ivan Osmond, that you may have met in the front when you were coming in. Brent Moran is going to be our commercial sales. We don't just do residential in this program, it's also open to commercial, small commercial and large commercial. We're going to look into all the opportunities that come our way. Once we close the project, our Vice President of Operations, Jeff Constantine, takes over. The salespeople are still involved and still available, but our operations team will then take over and start the process of documentation and working towards getting the project done. That will involve Steve Coffin, our project engineer, and the engineer that commissions the projects. And then Gail McMahon is our office manager who deals with the billing and the administrative side of things. Everybody on that list is either located in Framingham, or we've opened up a local branch office here in Brookline for the sales team. It's going to be right downtown. We move in tomorrow. If everything goes right, we will move in tomorrow. I'm going to put this slide up twice, once now and then once at the end. But this has our basic contact information. We set up an email address just for Solarize Brookline, and I think that's going to be the best way. If you have any questions, concerns, want to get your contact information to us, that's probably the best place to start is the email address, solarizebrookline@solarflare.com. We also set up a specific phone just for Solarize Brookline. It's assigned to one particular person right now, but it will always be in the possession of somebody involved in the Solarize Brookline effort, and that number's up there. You could also contact us through the website. So if you go to solarflare.com, our website, you'll see some buttons across the top of it, really in a number of different places on our website where you can sign up for the program. You click on Solarize Brookline, you'll end up on a contact us page. You put in your information and it will land in our Salesforce software, and then we'll be able to track the opportunity from there. And as I said earlier, the person that most people are going to be dealing with was initially this trade. So the process that we typically go through, and this will include yourselves, is to evaluate your own home for solar. I'm going to give you a few of the key things that we look at so that you can think about your own home and how, whether it may or may not be a good fit for solar. As Elizabeth said earlier, we recommend that everybody schedule an energy assessment from Mass Save. It's free, it's great information to have, and we recommend it to everybody. You can contact us for a site assessment if you haven't already. And then the goal of the program, let's get as many contracts signed as we can before September 30th. We'll be doing the installation. The program allows us to do the installations over the course of a year, so roughly a little over a year from the time that the contract is signed. But we don't anticipate we're going to need an entire year to do it, but it all depends on how many people get signed up. We are coming to the end of the installs that we signed up last year for the Solarize 2012 program. We anticipate finishing by the end of this summer. So what makes a good site for solar? We like south-facing roofs, but they don't have to be exactly south-facing. They can be almost completely east-facing or west-facing, but the best producing systems are going to be systems that face generally south. That is a site that's probably not a good candidate. It does have a southwest-facing surface, but it's got a couple of dormers on it. So we have some other examples. Another situation we have to deal with is the shading for each house. So we will screen your house via satellite image first. Once we get the address, we'll screen the house. We'll look to see which way it faces. We'll look to see what the shading situation is. This is an example of a house that has a shading issue, and we'll let you know that. Talk to you on the phone, or send you an email, give you an opportunity to come and let us know if we have it wrong, because maybe the satellite image is incorrect, and we understand that. But it's part of the process that we do, and you can think about it as you're considering your own home for solar. This is a picture of a good example. It's not perfectly south-facing, it's southeast-facing, but no obstructions on the roof, so no dormers. Skylights are another thing that we have to work around, skylights or vent pipes. This particular example has none of that on the roof. It faces almost perfectly south, and that would be a great opportunity right there. I left this slide in there, only I got a feeling that it's probably not going to be very applicable in Brookline, but if somebody had a lot of shading on their house or preferred to mount their panels on the ground, that is an option, and we do installations on ground-mounted systems, but you have to have the space, and you have to have quite a bit of space on the ground-mounted. I'll show some pictures a little bit later in the presentation to give you an idea of what that looks like. So here's a few pictures of installations. Gives you an idea of what the systems look like. This is an entire roof installation. It's kind of your standard rectangle. We do other systems that can be a little more challenging. Here's one with multiple roof surfaces, and that includes some of the obstructions I was talking about earlier, with chimneys, vent pipes. But we can work around it. It's not a problem. We will make that assessment, and we'll be able to design systems that work with your existing roof. This is an example of multiple array plus solar hot water. So panels that are on the left-hand side, down near the bottom of the roof, those are solar hot water panels, which we also do. The rest of them are solar electric or solar PV. And here's just a few other examples. This is a system that was installed in a garage. So the house is actually in the, you can't see it, but in the front of that picture, we just did a small trench from the garage over to the house, and it's a great working system, nice little system. He didn't have a good roof on his main house for solar, but we were able to install it in the garage. We've also done the same thing on barns and decent-sized sheds or workshops. This is an example of a house that has a dormer. I think we're going to run into a lot of architectural features like dormers here in Brookline, and it was the same in Arlington. I don't foresee any problems. We can obviously work around them and design the system right around the dormers. This is another example. It's hard to see from out there. That's a metal roof. It's another example of, we don't always have shingle roofs. I think we'll probably run into a lot of slate roofs here in Brookline, and there is an application for mounting the panels on slate roofs that we have done a couple jobs like that. We did a project at the Perkins School for the Blind, and so it's not unheard of, and it's definitely possible, and we're pulling together all the details. And, we've already met with a few families that have slate roofs for their homes. This is another example of a very large system, but it looks very nice. That's a commercial ground-mounted system. I don't think we're going to find that kind of space here in Brookline necessarily, but I wanted to just show it to you because in the foreground you can see that the system is ballasted. It's held down by large concrete blocks. And if you had the space, we can mount the systems horizontally the way you see in that picture. But the other option, when you have less space available, is a vertical system like that. That's called a pole-mounted system. Takes up less space, but you can still have a good producing system with pole-mounted. But it's very vertical, and we want to make sure that the homeowners are aware of that. We always make sure that we show pictures so that the homeowners understand what it is that they're getting. This is the main system components, the next couple slides. So under this program, we're offering a few different types of panels. The one in the middle is made by a company called Canadian Solar. They actually manufacture in China, but the headquarters, the company started in Canada. It's a standard panel. It's unlike the one that I have here. It's blue cells with an aluminum frame, and that is in our base price. So when we talk about the pricing a little bit later, think about that panel. That's what's in the base pricing. On the right-hand side, we offer an American-made panel from a company called SunEva, and they're based in Georgia. And then on the left is a very high-efficiency panel from a company called SunPower. So that's a good application when you may not have a lot of roof space, but with a 327-watt panel versus a 250-watt panel, it may be the right application for you to use the SunPower high efficiency. With the SunPower and the SunEva panels, there is a cost adder, and I'll have those on a list in a later slide. The other main components are the inverters. The inverters transform the DC energy that's produced by the solar panels up on your roof, transforms it to AC or alternating current, which matches exactly what the utility provides you. So your house will never know the difference between the solar energy that it gets and the normal utility power that you get. You'll always be connected to the grid when you're producing more electricity than you're consuming. Then the electricity is going to go right out your meter, and your meter is going to spin backwards. At nighttime, when the solar panels are not working at all, you're going to be connected to the grid. You're going to be using grid electricity just the way you always do. So on the left-hand side and the right-hand side, those are two different versions of the inverters. The left-hand side is what's in our base price, and it's called a central inverter. It's made by a company called Solarize. They're based here in Massachusetts. And we would mount an assembly like that down in your basement. That would require us to group the solar panels together on your roof. So just think about central inverter tied to a group of maybe two groups of 8, 9, or 10 panels up on your roof. One of the issues with that is if you have shading, if you've got shading on one of those panels in the group, it's going to bring down the output of all of the panels in that group. So it's part of the assessment that we do is trying to figure out whether you're a good candidate for the central inverter or a good candidate for what's on the right, which is called a microinverter. On the right, the product made by Enphase, which I actually brought a sample, is out on one of the tables out front. That's a microinverter, and we would install one of those under each panel right up on the roof. it makes the system more shade tolerant. So if you have shading on one panel, it only affects that one panel and doesn't reduce the output of any of the others. In our experience last year, most people went with microinverters either because they had to, because of the shading situation, or because, quite frankly, it has a better warranty. So the warranty for the microinverters is a 25-year warranty. The warranty for the panels is 25 years. So those match up very nicely. The central inverter is warranted for 10 years. It has an expected life of 15 years, and so you could expect that you're going to have to replace the central inverter once during the life of the system. And so for those few reasons, a lot of people decided to go with microinverters. But our salespeople will talk to you about those options and let you know if you are a good candidate for one or the other, and then let you decide what you want to do. The picture in the middle is the racking system, so that's what we're going to connect to the roof. We're going to apply for and get a building permit for every installation, and this is where we're connecting to the building so you can see the brackets in the rack that are going to hold the panels in place. Those are just two pictures of what each of the setups will be inside your house. Most of this system is going to be installed on the outside of your house, but up on the top right, that's what a central inverter installation may look like in your basement. Usually it's in the basement, sometimes it's the garage. Bottom left, that's the microinverter setup. We'll have to have metering and some disconnects today, and we'll be connecting to your existing electrical panel. So again, for the warranties, the panels themselves come with a manufacturer's warranty of 25 years. The central inverter has a warranty of 10 years and an expected life of 15. And the microinverters from Enphase come with a 25-year warranty. Our workmanship, which I consider a bumper-to-bumper warranty, is for 10 years. So anything that happens in the first 10 years, we cover, will come out and fix. After 10 years, it's the manufacturer's warranty. We will still be out there to fix it for you, but the labor wouldn't be covered with the manufacturer's warranties. Would still cover the major materials. The expected system life is at least 25 years, but we say an expected life of at least 30 years. And the good news is no maintenance. So nobody's going out and doing maintenance on these systems. It's a passive technology. There's no moving parts. If we do the installation the right way, which we always do, then there's going to be no maintenance. There's going to be no issues that need to be handled. A lot of people ask about cleaning, and nobody does it. Everybody asks about it, but then when it comes to it, these panels are up on your roof, and nobody's going up there and cleaning them. You could. It's not to say that you can't go over and clean them, but it just doesn't happen in practice. And we've installed a lot of systems. We've installed over 300 systems now, and I can assure you, except for the people who have ground-mounted systems, nobody's going up and cleaning. We're also going to offer monitoring systems. So with a central inverter system, on the central inverter itself, down in the basement, there's going to be a display that would give you all the information you need about your system. It's there for you, but it's not quite as convenient as what I'm showing you here in this picture, which is web-based monitoring. It is an adder, which I'll go over, but it gives you information about your system via the internet. So wherever you are, you can get online, you can see the production of your system. And in addition to that, this particular one I'm showing you, the solar MD monitoring, does automatic reporting of your production. So Elizabeth was talking earlier about the extract program, which is a production-based incentive. If you get this solar MD monitoring, that information will be transmitted automatically to the state, as opposed to you filling out a form once a month and sending it to the state. And both work. About half of our customers do that manual reporting themselves, and they have no problem doing it. But we also have this option where it can be automatic reporting. The other monitoring we offer comes as along with the microinverter. And that's a screenshot of it. It does not do the automatic reporting. So I want to make sure that's clear. This particular monitoring that comes with the microinverter is not considered revenue grade. It's not accepted by the state. But it's still a nice monitoring package to have. As you can see, it monitors each panel individually because each panel has its own microinverter, so you can go online and you'll be able to see the production daily, weekly, monthly for either one of those monitoring systems. And it's a nice feature. Again, everybody who goes with the microinverters gets this monitoring. So we're going to do questions and answers a little bit later, but I'm happy to hopefully head you off the pass. These are a lot of the questions I could ask. What if my roof is old? What our general rule of thumb is, and it's hard to know everybody's specific homes, but generally, if the roof needs to be replaced within about 5 years, we recommend that you probably should replace it before you do the solar installation. Beyond 5 years, it's a judgment call, and we'll provide some assistance with that. But you could also contact the roofer and see what they think. But it's something that we will make as part of our assessment and let you know, well, your roof looks like it's in good shape and we think we'll be okay, or no way, it looks like something that you should definitely replace before we install the panels. The good news with the solar is once we install the panels, the surface underneath the panels is going to see very little weather. It's never going to see the direct sunlight anymore. It's not going to get rained on directly. It'll still get wet. And obviously the snow is going to land on the panels, but it won't be directly on the roof. The panels will be about 3 inches above the roof because the racking holds it up, and that's going to create an air gap. It's also going to allow the rain to drain down the roof, but the roof will be protected for the most part. That doesn't say anything about the area around or not underneath the panels, but it's something that comes up pretty often. I think last year in the Solarize program we had 247 contracts, and to the best of my knowledge I think only 2 or 3 replaced their roofs before we did the installation, if that gives you any indication of how often it's needed. Do I need to clean the panels or remove the snow from them? I already talked about that. No, nobody does it. The snow will slide off, so that's something to consider. It's part of our operation and maintenance manuals that this panels are slippery glass surface that's different from the shingles that are on your roof that are textured and tend to hold the snow a little bit longer. Once the sun comes out and starts warming up the panel, the snow's going to slide off. It's probably going to slide off all at once. So it's something to consider for what's directly below those panels. And we'll remind the homeowners of that during and just after the installation. You don't need to remove the snow from them, but on the days when it snows and it's cold enough that the snow sticks and stays, the panels will not be producing electricity. It doesn't stick around for very long, especially if you have any kind of a pitch to your roof. So, let's say on average it's 1 to 2 days of snow covering your panels after a snowstorm, but shortly thereafter it slides off. And we assume in the proposal that we do that you're going to lose some production due to snow cover, and that's normal around here. Will the solar panels be able to withstand the harsh environmental conditions? Yes, obviously no problem with the sun, no matter how hot it gets, can handle it. The rain isn't going to have any issues either. When it snows, they'll be covered. Hail is often brought up, and these panels are tested to UL 1703. And part of that UL test is that they shoot a 1-inch steel bearing directly at the panel at 90 degrees at 53 miles per hour. So the glass, it's tempered glass in the front, it's very strong. The frame is very strong, designed to withstand hurricane conditions. And we have to design the entire system, the racking, how it's attached to your house, how the panels are attached to the racking, to make sure it's going to withstand the building codes that are required by the state by the time. And if we don't meet those requirements, we'll get in trouble. So we haven't had any problems yet. All of our projects get approved by the town, and we haven't had any issues. weight do the solar panels add? It's 3 to 4 pounds per square foot. And part of our design process can spread that weight out across the rafters, but sometimes we do have to do reinforcing of rafters, and that's something that we'll assess during our site visit as best we can, and let you know if we think that's going to be an issue, because in order to get the building permit, we have to prove that the roof is going to hold the added weight of the panels, including the snow blowing requirements. Who do I contact if something goes wrong? You're going to contact SolarFlare. As I said, we have a 10-year warranty for our workmanship, and even after that, you're still going to contact us and let us know if there's any issues, and we're going to help you through it. We provide you with an operation and maintenance manual at the end that has all the relevant information that you're going to need regarding us, regarding the manufacturers, regarding the parts and components that we provided to you. And the last question was net metering. Elizabeth talked about it a little bit, but it's one of the great incentives that they have here in Massachusetts. Net metering allows you to get the full credit of the energy that you're producing, so even when you are not consuming the energy that you produce. There's going to be times when you produce energy on your roof, your refrigerator's running, your lights are on, and you're going to be actually consuming the energy that's produced by the panels. But there's going to be plenty of other times when you say you're not home and you're using very little electricity, but the panels are pumping out energy. Your meter will spin backwards. And there are places, states in the country where you would not get the full retail rate credited to you, but here in Massachusetts, it's a requirement. So if you're paying 13 cents, 14 cents per kilowatt hour to N-Star, you'll get credited that full net metering rate. The other production-based incentive that Elizabeth talked about is SRECs. So it's important to understand that that is separate. The SRECs are separate from the net metering credit. The net metering credit is the actual physical energy that's being pushed out into the grid. Somebody else is getting the benefit of it. The SREC is the payment that you're going to get for the clean attribute, or the clean value of that same energy. But because it's produced using solar, you're going to get paid extra. And certificate is created as virtual. You're not going to actually get a paper certificate, but you're going to get credit for this energy that you produce using solar, and you'll be able to sell it on a market that the state created. And we will set you up with a broker. The broker we use is SREC Trade, and they will be able to sell these certificates for you. Currently, the prices are around 20 cents all the way up to the potential of 50 cents or more per kilowatt. Currently, the prices are down closer to the 20-cent range. And it's a market that's dependent on supply and demand. And the state regulates the demand of that market, that they change periodically to try to reach the goals that they've set. As Elizabeth said, the program is going through a little bit of change right now because we reached the initial goals much quicker than anybody anticipated. But we have a lot of faith that they're going to stabilize the market currently, and SRECs are still available. The current SREC program is still available to small residential, small commercial installations. And then going forward, starting in 2014, there'll be a different SREC market as we reach towards the goal of 1,600 megawatts. The other incentives are 30% federal tax credit, a state tax credit that's capped at $1,000, and a mass CEC rebate that could be capped at $2,000, but as Elizabeth said, there are opportunities where it could be twice that amount. And that's part of the assessment that we'll do when we're talking to you about your home. This is just an example of a potential project. It's hard to say exactly what your house is going to be until we look at it, but a project that's about $20,000, it's about a 5-kilowatt system. You get a rebate for $2,250 if you're using the central inverter system, because it's a Massachusetts company, you get a little bit more of a rebate. So the upfront cost to the homeowner is about $17,600. We typically assign that rebate directly to Solarflare so that you never get charged for it, you never have to pay for it, it just comes to us. But that's something we can talk about with the homeowner and what their preference is. Most people choose to do that. Then there's a state income tax credit of $1,000, and a federal tax credit of $5,961, and then there are usually taxes that need to be paid on the rebate. So we'll show that right in the proposal that we send you. So the basic out-of-pocket expense on a $20,000 system is about $11,000 before you start going into the production-based incentives. So our pricing for the program is, compared to the rest of the market, pretty low. You can see it right up there. It's broken down by the tiers, so the initial proposals that we send to people, at least for now, are going to be based on tier 1 pricing, which the base price is $369 per watt. That's before any adders that may be necessary or may be desired by the customer. But if we reach tier 5, which I guarantee we will, that's going to reduce that base price from $3.69 to $3.14, a 55-cent per watt difference. So it's a pretty big drop. And the reason I say confidently we're going to reach tier 5 is to get to 200 kilowatts, that's about 45 systems. So 45 homeowners or small businesses have to decide to move forward with systems. And based on our experience last year, I know we're going to get there. We also offer a PPA. I'm going to explain a little bit more with the, in a slide that's coming up. But the base price under the PPA for what I'm going to say are pretty optimal conditions that they describe up there is about 10 cents per kilowatt hour compared to what I said earlier is the average from NSTAR these days is probably between 13 and 14 cents per kilowatt hour. That price wouldn't change as we reach tier 5, but what we are going to do is give an incentive, which is going to be just a cash payment once the system's turned on and turned over to the third-party financer. And you can see those incentives listed up there. As we go to tier 5, those numbers will be cumulative, so it's going to be a pretty, it's going to be a nice program for people who want to go to PPA. They're going to get a good working system and a good rate, and then some cash in their pocket right away. So we've been talking about adders, or as I call them on this slide, increased pricing factors. The ones on the left are site-specific. They're ones that when we're doing the assessment of your home, if it applies, then it's going to be included in your price. So, don't think I'll read all of them off, but I'll give you a few examples. Like if you saw a picture earlier in the presentation of a multiple roof array, if we run into that situation where we're going to have 2 separate arrays on different surfaces, there's an 8 cent per watt adder. So they'll just be added to that $3.69 tier 1 price. And similarly, throughout if we had to reinforce the rafters for the home to meet the structural requirements, that's a 20 cent per watt adder. And we'll make that assessment as we're doing the site visits. If we had to upgrade your electric panel, it doesn't come up that often, but occasionally we have to upgrade the whole panel. That's a 16 cent per watt adder. So we're going to talk to you about all these. They'll be listed on your proposal. Then on the right-hand side, there's the optional system upgrade. So I talked about a couple of them already, like the monitoring that does the automatic reporting for your SRX. It's $1,200 per job. It's a fixed price. And not everybody wants it, not everybody needs it, but it's an option that's there. It'll be listed in the proposal. If it's something you think you want, if you want the automatic reporting, then we'll talk about it and we'll add it to the proposal if you want, but you don't have to have it. I would say last year, probably 40% of the people decided that they wanted it, and it's completely optional. There is, if you want an extended warranty, if you wanted us to come and do maintenance, we could. I don't think it's necessary, but it's in there if somebody does want it. There's an adder for the microinverters and the monitoring that comes along with that. And then we also offer, from aesthetic reasons, an all-black panel as opposed to the blue with the aluminum frame. So that is an example of the all-black panel. We also offer the American-made panel, SunEva, or the high-efficiency SunPower panel. And those are all things that we'll talk about, and you'll let us know if that's what you want, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of each, and then you'll get a proposal, and you can make a decision. We'll help you make that decision. So a little bit more about a PPA. PPA stands for Power Purchase Agreement, and so we want you to think of it as a service. So it's a third-party financed offering, and so you won't own the system, at least not for the first 20 years. But for little or no money down, this third-party financer, who we deal with, we call Clean Power Finance, they're going to own the system, they're going to pay for it, and in exchange for that, they're going to sell you the energy from that system at a reduced rate compared to what N-Star charges you. They're going to get the benefits that we talked about earlier. So the rebate gets applied to them, the SREPs are going to be theirs. So I want to make sure that that's understood. The tax benefits are going to go to the company that owns the system. And it's a great opportunity because for very little money or no money out of pocket, you can have solar on your house, and your kilowatt hour rate will be less than what you've been paying. It's a 20-year agreement. One of the first things we're going to have to do, if that's the way you decide you want to go, we will present both options to you, owning and PPA. But if you decide you want to go with the PPA, the first thing we're going to have to do is get your approval to do a credit check. Clean Power Finance will do a credit check. The minimum FICO score is 700, and they'll let us know almost immediately. I think, well, I don't want to say immediately, but within 48 hours, they'll let us know. There's a lot of different options in how much money you can put down. The more money you put down and pay up front, the cheaper that kilowatt hour rate is. Similarly, you can change the escalator so you could have a 2.9% escalator, meaning the rate that you agree to increases each year, 2.9%, or you could have a 0% escalator. And we can run the numbers for you and let you know what it looks like. Obviously, the better the house, the better it's situated to the south, and the fewer trees, shading issues, the better it's going to be, the lower the rate is going to be. So everybody's house is different. And the other thing is that we do have to use the microinverters with Clean Power Finance. That's a requirement that they've made of us. Part of the offer, we didn't do this last year, but we decided that we wanted to provide an additional incentive to the towns that we're working with. So we reached Tier 5 when we contract 500 kilowatts, and we have every expectation that we're going to get there and hopefully get there very quickly. But we decided to come up with our own Tier 6, which is a donation. Solarflare is going to donate a system when we reach 400 kilowatts. And the donation of the system, it'll be up to a 5 kilowatt system, and it will go to either a socially responsible local nonprofit from the town, and we'll take suggestions from people and reach out to those organizations and talk to them, or a family that demonstrates financial hardship but really wants solar. So it's just something we want to throw in to continue to incentivize the town even after we reach the 200 kilowatt goal. Just as Elizabeth said earlier, these are the next steps. We want you to contact us, let us know if you're interested, let us know what your information is, your address, phone number, and we'll take a look at the site. You can also contact MassSave now. If you contract to have a system done and you want to be eligible for the rebate, then you have to have a home energy audit done. If you sign a contract by September 30th, you'll be included in the program, and then we'll start scheduling the installations, and we'll start saving. We are also offering another added incentive, which is the early adopter incentive. So for the first residential customer and the first small commercial customer, we're going to provide a gift basket of gift cards and gift certificates to local businesses from Brookline, just to hopefully get some lucky customer to move forward as soon as possible, and also ask in exchange that you be part of a press opportunity so that we can spread the word and let people know that this program's moving, and we're getting out there, we're doing the site visits, and we're getting the proposals in people's hands, and we'll do the necessary follow-up to answer all your questions. So with that, I'm open to answer questions. Hopefully, I have some of my employees here with that, but I'll answer all the questions I can. Once we finish this more formal part, feel free to know anybody you see with a solar flare shirt on, ask away. Yes. Yes, we can. So, yeah. So the question was, are we going to provide data of our past installations? Did you mean specifically solar flare or the manufacturers that we use? I wasn't sure about that. Yeah. We can give information on the systems that we've installed, certainly, and yeah, we built degradation into our proposal, and it's in our assumptions in the back of the proposal. So we assume 0.4%, and we can show you what the systems, how the systems are performing. Yeah, understood. Yes.
I was wondering if there's a way to talk in averages about what percentage of electricity use is produced by solar in a household, and what the average payback period would be.
Sure. The second one is much easier. The average payback, no matter what size system we do, is 4 to 6 years. That variation is mostly based on how is the house situated towards south. If you're perfectly south, it's going to be closer to 4 years. If you're closer to east-west, it's going to be closer to 6 years, and of course, shading will impact that as well. As far as, what was the first part of the question? Right. So that part varies quite a bit, and we see so many different customers, and it depends on how much electricity you use relative to how much roof space we're able to put solar panels on. A lot of times we're in that 50 to 75% range, but in Arlington, I can tell you last year, a lot of times we were higher than that because people there just tended to use less electricity, and a lot of energy efficient programs there. They tend to use less, and so oftentimes we were closer to 90. And there was plenty of examples where the customer, we actually could fit enough solar on their roof that they could produce more than 100% of their electricity, which usually isn't, we don't necessarily recommend that, but they have plans for the future that would accommodate that. Like, they might want to get an electric car in the future, and that allows them the spare capacity, and that's something that we'll talk about. In our proposal, it will show how much electricity, how much of your electricity we estimate that the system will produce based on the electrical bills that you give us. We'll see 1 year's worth of your usage. And so right in the proposal, it'll state that based on the bill you gave us, we think that the system will do 75% or whatever. But it varies. If some of the things that swing it are like when people have pools or spare freezers or spare refrigerators in the basement that just run 24/7. The pool doesn't run all year, but in the summertime it's really using a lot of electricity. Your air conditioning usage can really swing it. People are really, I mean, I've seen some real surprises. You know, you walk up to a house and you're really not sure, but you see the building and wow, they either don't use very much electricity, and I assume they would use more, or just the opposite, where they use a ton, and I wouldn't have expected it based on what I saw. So we really need to look at the numbers.
Thanks very much. So your last point really speaks to helping clients be more energy efficient so that they don't overbuild their systems. And there is a continuing program called Green Homes Berkline, which helps people to do that sort of work that people are doing. Someone who was interested in meeting here tonight asked me if I could find out if there's a minimum area system. I think I saw on the slide. I didn't press it. Or will you not build a certain minimum size?
I hate to say we won't. I mean, we're gonna look at it, but the smallest system we've done is 9 panels, and what is that? 2 square footage. It's about 400 square feet of usable space. No, it's about 300.
Can you say what it is in kilowatts?
Yep. So that's a 2.25 kilowatt system.
And then a follow-up question. After 20, 25 years when the panels are, well, I guess two phases of that question. Do they diminish their output over time, or are they pretty steady?
No, the output will diminish. We build in 0.4% degradation per year. At the end of the 25-year warranty, the production is warranted for 80% of its nameplate rating. So we're anticipating that degradation will occur, but to have at year 25 still at 80% of the production capacity, it's still going to be working.
And then that's probably thinking pretty far ahead, but are there sort of thoughts towards replacing the system? What's the cost of taking it off the roof or replacing it with another system?
Yeah, I mean, I could say that the answer to taking off the roof part, it takes us about 3 days to do your average house. But that's harder than just taking them off. So, let's say 1 to 2 days of a crew of 2 to 3 guys, $1,000, $1,500 to take them off in today's money. You can make your own assessment of what you think that's going to cost 25, 30 years from now. I have also, what goes hand in hand with that question is, what do you do with the panels after? How do you recycle them? And I've talked to a few scrap yards that will take solar panels. They don't very often because they're all being used, but they will take them. They can break them down and either recycle the parts or sometimes use the parts for other purposes.
Resale, home sale values.
So I don't have, statistical data to share with you. There are reports out there. They tend to be California based, and I don't think the market here in Massachusetts equates directly to California. So the way I usually answer that question is it's in the eye of the beholder. It depends on who's coming to buy your house, and I think that's the best way I can answer the question, because if somebody values solar and the attributes that it provides, the energy savings it's going to provide, they're going to place a value on that. But if for some reason they hate solar and the way it looks, and I'm not going to kid you that there's people out there that don't like the way it looks. They're going to value it less. And I wish I had those statistics, but I think it's a little early here in Massachusetts. But, you know, hopefully somebody's working on that, and within a year or two we'll have some real data that I can share with you. In that California report, I believe it states that it would increase the value of your home dollar for dollar. So if you pay $30,000 for your system, it should raise the value of your home by $30,000. Again, I'm going to tell you that I feel that it depends on who's coming to buy your house. Oh, the property tax. Yeah, it doesn't. It does not increase your property tax. It's one of the other benefits that I didn't mention earlier.
So even if you were 10 or 15 years out on needing a roof replacement, if the system has a 25-year life, and frankly it'll run longer than that, you're still going to need to do a roof replacement while it's in place.
Yeah.
How big a mess is that?
I don't think it's so based on what I said earlier, it's a 3-day installation for your average system, and you could hire us or somebody like us to take the panels down and put them back up, and I think it would probably be another, let's say, 3 days, because it shouldn't take as long. The layout portion is done, but we haven't had to do it yet. I don't think it comes
So
up that often.
basically you'd have to remove them, have your roof replaced,
Yeah.
and put them back.
If that was necessary. Like I said earlier, the roof underneath the panels should be in very good condition because it's not going to see much weather.
Can you talk about two-family houses?
Sure. Yeah, we did quite a few of them in Arlington last year. So we can, if both owners are interested, assuming, I'm not sure, you could have a two-family house that just has one owner. Or you could have a two-family house that's more like a condo. So which condo? So in the ownership model, it's actually very simple. We could do 2 separate systems, which we've done in one. If you were to look at the roof, it would look like one big system, but in reality, it's 2 separate systems. One is connected to one service, and the other one's connected to the other service. In each of those owner